Welcome to Illuminati Silver. We tell you the truth about silver. Today is Friday the 24th of January 2020, and yesterday we published a video entitled Davos 2020 and Global Lies by Controversially Greg, where we discussed what Greg calls the climate change lie, that man has a considerable effect on climate change, and that politicians and bankers are just jumping on the bandwagon. We also published a video on Wednesday entitled 2020 Investments, Gold, Defense and Utilities, where some investment managers are suggesting that investors should place their capital into equities or funds dealing with defense and utility stocks, in addition to gold. Well, today we're looking at an article published by Bloomberg just 2 days ago, which supports some of our earlier videos of late last year, where we highlighted that to date and moving forward, the green energy industry is where modern fortunes lie. So we shall take a look at that article and then get a comment from Controversially Greg, who undoubtedly will have much to say about it. Bloomberg article dated January 22nd, 2020, by Tom Metcalf and P.E. Mack, entitled, "These billionaires made their fortunes by trying to stop climate change. They're among the first to profit from climate solutions, but they won't be the last." 4 shareholders in China's giant supplier of electrical vehicle batteries have built a combined fortune of $17 billion. An Australian businessman has created a $7 billion net worth from recycling. A 10-figure stake in a hydrogen fuel cell trucking company has minted an American billionaire. These are among the 10 largest fortunes derived primarily from the growing business of climate solutions, according to data compiled by Bloomberg. With a combined green net worth of $61 billion at the end of 2019, about 3 times the market capitalization of oil services firm Halliburton, the billionaires on this list represent the emergence of a super-rich vanguard in the fight against global warming. The list exemplifies the green economy's growing heft and diversity. It ranges from household names such as Tesla's chief executive officer Elon Musk to the lower-profile founders behind some of China's biggest companies. Their rise to the apex of capitalism has been underpinned by fervent investor demand. Investments in businesses that address climate change or encourage sustainable practices are surging. Assets managed using a broad definition of this approach, integrating environmental, social and governance factors into investing decisions, reached $30.7 trillion at the start of 2018, about a third more than 2 years earlier, according to a report funded by a group of financial companies, including Bloomberg News parent Bloomberg LP. The popularity of green investments, one of the fastest growing areas in finance, is now so large that European lawmakers are working on rules to define them. Quote, "The next big success story is green finance," unquote, William Russell, the Lord Mayor of the City of London, said in a December interview on Bloomberg Radio. The momentum in that space is enormous. The capital and interest flowing into sustainable enterprises is helping underpin a new breed of fortunes, as exemplified by those on the list. Quote, "Sustainability is now a key offering for many of our clients," unquote, says Eleanor Bedell, head of Sustainable and Responsible Investing and Impact Investing at BNP Paribas Wealth Management. Researching the ranking revealed only a handful of climate-focused fortunes that crossed into 10-figure territory. In the next decade, there are likely to be many more, including from startups developing solar-powered grills and electric planes. Growing demand for plant-based foods could soon produce 2 billionaires. Beyond Meat founder Ethan Brown and Impossible Foods CEO Patrick Brown, no relation, both own stakes worth hundreds of millions of dollars in their respective companies. Both firms have created a market for a meat replacement that doesn't come with the environmental cost of livestock, which accounts for 14.5% of global greenhouse gas emissions. Quote, "There's so much pent-up demand in ESG institutional money," unquote, says Bill Tarr, co-founder of Motive Partners. When a Beyond Meat comes along, money floods in. It's a shift from the narrative of wealth creation that dominated the 20th century. John D. Rockefeller became the first billionaire in history on the back of Standard Oil, followed swiftly by dynasties built on emissions such as the Fords and DuPonts. But the carbon economy remains dominant. Oil tycoons, industrialists and car titans make up more than a quarter of the world's 500 richest people, tracked by Bloomberg, including wildcatters such as Harold Hamm, refiner Mukesh Ambani, and BMW's Suzanne Clayton. The world's most valuable company by far is newly listed Saudi Aramco, with its $1.8 trillion market cap. Greenhouse gas emissions have risen at a rate of 1.5% a year over the past decade. Government funding for renewable technology has been shrinking, squeezing many of the fortunes on the ranking, while those backed by fossil fuels have enjoyed a renaissance these past few years. Alois Wobben's wind turbine maker, Enercon, has said it faces grave challenges to its business in Germany after a nationwide wave of legal challenges launched against new wind parks choked orders. Quote, "Green wealth is highly dependent on innovative technology succeeding, which means these fortunes can be wiped out in a heartbeat," unquote, said Kingsmill Bond energy strategist at Carbon Tracker, a think tank that examines the impact of climate change on capital markets and investment in fossil fuels. But people who successfully carve out new niches in this new economy will be the owners of the wealth of the future. Take Mario Araripe, a Brazilian tycoon who first built a fortune in property before being converted to the lucrative promise of wind power. Brazil's national anthem says the country is a giant by its own nature, he said in 2017. People always thought that was because of gold or other underground treasures, but I don't believe that. I think it's because there's wind. Such sustainable fortunes are likely to be bolstered by capital. Investors, especially the family offices of the super rich, are increasingly making sustainability central to their strategies. TCI Fund Management, the company that hedge fund manager Christopher Hone runs, recently warned companies in its portfolio to step up their climate change action or risk divestment. If such a sentiment continues to take hold, it could eventually remake the world's wealth rankings. End of article. Okay, we shall now go over to Controversially Greg and get his take on this article. Greg, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Now, have you had an opportunity, Greg, to read the Bloomberg article that was published 2 days ago, highlighting 10 billionaires who've achieved their fortunes or achieved a fortune through adopting green energy type industries?
Yes, I have.
What's your opinion of it, Greg? In particular, as well, bearing in mind that we've produced previous videos where investment managers have highlighted that the green market is the place for investors to put their money.
Oh, I think in many ways the green market, so-called, that if we're not damn careful will destroy this planet, has become the place to invest money. But at the end of the day, investment is not a matter of ethics, it's a matter of profit. They're investing in it because there's money to be made out of the gullibility of people. We understand and have understood all along that there was a great deal of motivation for promoting the false science of climate change being purely down to mankind. Nobody denies there is climate change. That is, this climate change being denied is purely and simply Utopian language to try and associate it with Holocaust denial and other appalling types of denial. No, we actually deny the fact that mankind is the main driver of the changes in climate, which of course is absolute palpable bunkum, because climate has been changing for 4.5 billion years. We have only been around for 800,000 years. We've only been in any way industrialized by settled farming for 12,000. So what is the motivation that means that we're having continuously propagandized at us this garbage pretense that climate change is man-made? During the Ice Age, carbon dioxide dropped to around 180 parts per million, bearing in mind that it's at 400 parts per million at the moment. At 180 parts per million, you're within 30 parts of the death of plants. Plants, to survive, not to thrive, but to survive, require 150 parts per million as an absolute minimum. While we're now, having watched carbon dioxide rise as a result of the temperatures rising and as a result of the oceans at slightly higher temperatures giving off more of the carbon dioxide that is locked in the seawater. Fortunately, we're in a period of history where it's gone up to 400 parts per million. But do bear in mind that everything on this planet is dependent on eating plant life. Lions eat it second-hand from the herds of herbivores, zebra, wildebeest, and the like, that convert it into meat. And the carnivores are dependent on plant life merely second-hand. Bear in mind also that nursery growers of plants buy CO2 in cylinders to raise the CO2 in their greenhouses from 400 parts per million, which is the average across this planet at the moment. They aim to raise it to around 1,000, which moves towards the optimum for rapid, lush growth of plants. We now find that there are people making billions out of exploiting the myth of climate change being man-made. People are always asking, but why would all these people, be banks, politicians, and the like, be making such a thing of promoting mankind being responsible? Well, it's quite simple, isn't it? There's a huge amount of money to be made out of this latest fashion scam. Of course, by distraction from the real problem that mankind has, which is not climate change, because we can't do anything about climate change in any material sense. Climate change is driven by the sun and always has been. And what our problem is pollution. That has nothing to do with climate. That has to do with poisoning our environment. And that is a major problem because there is no immediate money spinner in uninventing plastic for packaging. Go into your normal supermarket and you will see row upon row upon row of fluids, mostly milk, for sale in plastic canisters. You can hardly call them bottles. They're so flimsy. Nobody has really got an answer for that. Some say, oh, well, use the cardboard cartons. There's a drawback to that. When you open many of these cardboard cartons, they have a plastic lining. Otherwise, the cardboard would go soggy. So this is only hiding plastic. It's the same as claiming that electric motor cars are the answer to preventing atmospheric pollution. No, it's not. It just moves the pollution from the car all the way to a power station. and concentrates all the pollution in one place, as opposed to, in Britain, 36 million motor vehicles. It is not as simple as it looks. It is the gullible who have fallen for the lie, driven by people becoming billionaires out of supplying the gullible. I hope that helps you understand what's going on. If you want to invest money and you are utterly bereft of any social conscience and you are purely functioning on greed without ethics, invest in some of these green technologies. There's a huge amount of money to be made out of it, and there's an awful lot of gullible people who can be duped into believing mankind is responsible for global warming and for climate change. So you won't be around this afternoon, will you, Richard? You'll be out investing.
Absolutely. I'll be selling my gold and silver imminently and buying into Elon Musk's green technology.
Elon Musk has already admitted by his actions that he hasn't got a clue how to recycle or safely dispose of the cars he's producing. So he tried an experiment and put one in a rocket and fired it into space.
Well, on another video, because we haven't got time to do it now, I've come across a billionaire called Alois Woben from Germany. He runs a company called Enercon, and it's one of the world's, now you will love this, largest...
Con.
Enercon.
The clue is in the name on the tin. Con.
And it's one of the world's largest wind turbine companies, Greg. Windmills. But on that note, I'm going. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So there we have it. Fortunes already made in this sector, and fortunes still to be made. Is Greg right? Is it all a con? Should I or all of us now go out and invest in green technology companies? What are your thoughts? Do share. And thank you for listening. And if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to our channel and press the bell sign so that you're notified of videos as and when they are published. We hope you have found this video interesting and informative. And if so, please give it a thumbs up and share it on social media. Please ensure that you have subscribed to our channel and press the bell sign so that you are notified of any future videos. Also, kindly visit our website at illuminatisilver.com, and if you haven't already done so, please subscribe either as a free or paying member for regular email updates and offers. Disclaimer. Illuminati silver owners come from a background of banking, international wealth management and economics. Having now retired from these worlds, we are not qualified to give investment advice. Therefore, this and other productions must not be deemed to be giving such advice and merely represent the personal views of its owners.